Yeah, I mean, the fascinating thing about God is if you think about like you and him, he never changes. Like he's always, like even if I'm talking to you and I'm like kind of doing this, it's like subconsciously I'm conveying, I'm not that interested in you, Jared.
Yeah.
Remember like in the lobby of The Rock, we'd always be like, there's so many people. And sometimes how do I end this conversation? I'm trying to go talk to that girl over there. And like there was always this, and there's a lot of, anyways, just think of God directed at you, fully
Full eye
inviting,
contact.
arms open. And God's space, sin cannot exist in God's space. So for me to partake in sin, I have to leave this relationship to go access this thing that I want, that I think is going to provide for my needs, that it's not. And so this relationship, when people are like, God feels distance, all these things, it's like, one, we don't always feel, but two, it's like oftentimes he's never left. He hasn't changed at all. Senior Mango's cup. He's there.
Kairos smoothie chats.
But I've had to like go over here, and it's like I'm holding on to my sin, and the more I can't escape that. It's like I've reached into a hole and grabbed something.
Oh,
and
the
now
old
my
monkey
fist,
trap analogy.
My fist can't
Yeah.
reach out until I let go.
Oh.
And then another thing that
Real quick, just for people who don't know this, there's an old like story or like trap where like people in Africa, if you want to trap a monkey, you put like a treat in a hole. It grabs
it's like
the
a
treat.
termite mound.
Yeah.
Dig
and
a little hole in it.
It can reach in, but once it grabs the thing, it never opens its hand, so it's trapped. So that's like the analogy he's giving with like us and sin.
It won't let go.
It won't
and
let
you'll
go.
just go walk right up to the monkey and take it.
Yes.
And then the other thing I learned later is that sometimes there's like stuff buried deep within us, and it almost feels like a magnet. Imagine like if I had these like metal shards in me of sin. As I walk closer, it's like pushed out and like
it's
painfully being ripped out of me as I'm like slowly getting sanctified. That's the other experience I felt, where it's like, oh, I thought, like you overcome this massive sin issue that ruled your life in your teens. And you're like, yes, victory. I'm past that.
That's it.
And then all of a sudden you're like, ow. And then you're, wow. And then there's all this like different depths, because you look at just what Jesus did. He's like, oh, you've heard it said, murder, like he who murders his brother. But it's like, if you're angry at someone or commits adultery, look at a woman with lust. That's like, as you get closer and closer, there's like this layer underneath all of the sins that like gets pulled out, and you're like, oh, it's about my heart. Even though my actions look really nice and clean, ooh, here's another thing.
To even where like even if you're doing the right things for the wrong reasons, it's
there's plenty of people doing a lot of things for God,
for the air quotes
for themselves. It's like it looks good.
Did you ever watch The Legend of Korra or part of the Avatar series by chance, or no?
Yeah, the Avatar: The Last Airbender was the first series I saw start to finish. I was more of a movie than a series person.
Sure.
okay.
Oh, I loved that. I didn't get through all of Legend of Korra.
Okay, yeah.
But man, I have some really fond memories.
Fair.
That was my first it was like 4 seasons too. Right?
Yeah, there is.
Yeah, Korra was 4, Avatar was 3.
Yeah. I bring it up because in season 4 of Korra, spoilers if you didn't watch it, but
I'll survive.
All right, there we go. She in the previous season, she'd been poisoned by liquid metal poison, and it's in season 4. She's like trying to overcome her like fear of being defeated, and like she's like being stripped down to like just like a not an avatar. She's lost her whole mission, her identity.
And she was like this, brash, cocky, just
know-it-all kind of avatar.
Broad shoulders back,
Yeah. But she finally finds Toph, like old Toph, and Toph like helps her bend the metal out herself.
Wow.
Because there's like residual liquid metal poison in her that's supposedly preventing her from achieving the avatar state.
Wow.
So I thought of that when you mentioned the metal shrapnel the
just getting
symbolic shrapnel, but versus us trying to do it ourselves, God's the one bending the metal out of us when it comes to sin. He's the one who's like, let me just take this out of you really quick, let me just make you more pure so that you can achieve the person that I made you to be.
Yeah.
And not even just achieve, but like to enter into this relationship that you are meant for, because you cannot be in my presence because I'm just like the sun. Yeah. Like if you don't have these impurities out of you, you're going to burn up.
Yeah.
So for your own good, because I want you to be in my presence, I'm going to take it out of you. So that's what I thought of when you had
sanctification is so fascinating because it's happening to us. We're not doing it to ourselves.
Yeah. Why does that seem so simple but so profound at the same time?
Try to sanctify yourself. Go ahead.
No thanks. Hard pass.
That's the title right there. Try to sanctify yourself.
Yes.
But it's almost like one of the things that's funny that I've wrestled with. I don't know about you guys, but like a lot of times I get this guilt of like when something that I thought I'd overcome comes back. And I'm like,
I hate that feeling.
And it's almost like I'm living under this false perception that somehow I'm gonna, I'm just gonna use enlightenment. Not that that's a Christian term, but like I'm gonna get to this certain level of understanding that no longer dealing with sin. But the reality is, even if that was possible, if you think about it, like when I overcome, what it tends to make me do is similar to why it says it's harder for a rich man to get in heaven than a camel to go through the eye of the needle, is because what do you need God for? You have all your needs met. So I find some of the, in my life, and I've witnessed in a lot of friends where like they're in this personal growth journey and they are getting better and better and better. And eventually they realize they've built this identity on a false foundation of their own self ability. And then they crash and burn and die. Well, not die literally, but like their whole thing is,
if it's built on themselves, it's the
and
inevitable.
then they turn back to God and like, God, I can't do it on my own. And it's almost like you've got to learn to just have this normal, like in my weakness, then I am strong, because God is made perfect in my weakness. Like his power is made perfect in my weakness. And so, I'm all for personal development. I work as a coach, but
it has its place.
Yeah, you can't, like you can worship that too, even through the lens of sanctifying yourself. And then you're actually, like, independence has no place in like a biblical understanding of your relationship with God. Like you are,
it's almost the antithesis.
submitted to the authority of a king, right? Like I'm within your kingdom. I follow your rules. So the more I become independent or self-sufficient, the more I'm resisting reliance on you. Again, it's like the vine analogy. I'm trying to pull myself away from the vine to try to make it on my own. And then I can't have any life. It's like I've unplugged the power.
Yeah.
And I eventually fail. Come crawling back broken. And like, help me, God. So it's like, it's a challenge to try to figure out, how do I grow, sort of level up as a man, not at the cost of my reliance on God.
I've just seen that in my own life. Like even recently, because when I first got saved, shortly before I met you, one of the things was God was instilling in me just not kind of the basic habits of just being in prayer, being in my Bible, and that kind of thing. And I would time myself. I remember Pastor Miles was talking about he wanted us to pray 15 minutes a day. That's what I liked about the Rock and this church, is like there were tangible challenges, and I'm called to do that. And it's just like went from 15 minutes to half hour to like an hour. And I've had that for like years. And then recently I realized where it became that, where it was like, not quite I've met my quota, but it's like I'm doing these things, like I'm good because of that.
Yeah.
And God's had to take those away. And I'm like, no, but it's helped me. He's like, that was just to instill the habits. Like, just sit, you're used to in my presence now. Like, okay, I need you to like, don't worry about the timer. Don't worry about you prayed today, which, I mean, I still text some buddies of ours for accountability for that. But just like, now I just need you to sit in my presence until I speak, not for 15 minutes. Like, just be there. Like, that was good for a time. And I think it's kind of that same thing. It's like, that's when it becomes the defining trait.
Yeah.
It's not that that's bad.
Yeah.
But when it becomes over what is actually our identity, what actually is sanctifying us, is you're saying.
Yeah, like even with what you said, I'm good because.
Yeah.
I don't know what the scripture is in the Gospels, but someone calls good teacher. And Jesus is like, who's good?
Why do you call me good?
Why do you call me good? Right? Like, even Jesus himself is like, why do you call me good? Right? Like, that's Jesus. And it's like, I'm off over here trying to be like, look at me, I'm so good. And it's like, no, I mean, I'm good through Christ. I'm spotless through Christ. I'm no longer enslaved to sin, but I'm not on a quest to be good.
We already failed. If that's the quest we're already done for.
Yeah.
That much is true.